To be clear, there is no electricity. This is my phone, and I'm shedding light on this in order for you guys to understand, or to at least see me speaking. I think it'll be pretty weird if I was having this like this, if I was like talking in this video like this. But anyways, so we're back at the same day. That was part one. Now, recapping. Yesterday night, it was a beautiful night. I went to the mountains. I wanted to work on my project. And what I started doing was I started basically collecting different scenarios in order for me to write them down. And as I was trying to write them down, I was like, okay, so if I'm going to come back to these scenarios, and I wrote a few, what are the things, what is going to the title going to be? So the format of how the title is going to be, the naming convention. And naturally, the only reason I thought of that is because I actually like have a certain, I learned sets of learning conventions when it comes to like online marketing and campaigns and ad sets, but also because they're very important when we're coding. Because when you're programming, you kind of have to understand which folder does what and which variable does what and which file is what's the purpose. And in programming, it's amazing because it's .js, .jsx, .ts, .tsx, .html, .git, all kinds of stuff, .env file. Like there's a whole different structures of files. So I'm like, sweet man. It's just like I really love the fact that last year I made a decision to start doing this. Yeah, it has only been a year and a half since I started doing this, or about no 2 years actually since I started doing this. So I love it. I love it. It's amazing. But anyway, so I sat there and my mind was kind of like in one of those modes where I'm just like talking about stuff in my head out loud. Whoever's in front of me would have a conversation, and I asking, like I met somebody and I asked them what they did, and she was telling me about landscaping and how she basically is planning on doing her masters, and you know when somebody's excited about what they're like working on, and I'm like, okay, so how do you work on your career when it comes to that, and what's the thought process behind it? And basically, I had this conversation with her, and when we were done, I wrote everything down, or as much as I could down. My friends came back, and when they came, I had to basically have the same conversation with them, but it came out differently. But that's the beauty. Every single time, it kind of comes out differently. So I set some boundaries for my train of thought in order for me not to kind of like think of everything and eventually go like, oh, okay, I had this once before. But I slept around 2 o'clock, and we had a lot of conversations. What's happening around? How's the states involved in it? What's the politics behind it? What's the business acumen behind it? I realized yesterday that the United States of America consumes 9 million plus barrels every day, whilst the entirety of China consumes 15 million barrels every day. That's fucked up, dude. Yo, that's a lot. 9 million barrels every day. Whilst China, sorry, 15 million every year. Or even 150 every year is just like too little compared to 9 million every fucking day. So really, it is a consumerist country. It's like the entire economy of theirs is built on how much they can spend. The more they spend, the more they're able to kind of like they have to expand. They have to do all that stuff. But anyways, when the conversation's finished, I went home. I slept. I woke up today in the morning. I did my early walk. I saw the dog that I saw. I actually bought medicine for him today because he has ticks. And so, like, Kendall, it's fascinating now that I'm reflecting on it. It's actually been a very good day. It's just been exhausting. And I don't know if it's overwhelming or more like there's shit I have to deal with that I don't necessarily, that I didn't want to. I figured, man, why can't they just flow? But that's not how life is. So, so in the morning yesterday, we had I was talking to the same person that I talk to every day at work. And it was more a designated day for me because I was feeling after finishing Norwegian Wood, Murakami. Do you guys know Murakami? Yeah, that guy's intense, and it just he dives deep into a whole lot of stuff. He dives very deep into a whole lot of stuff. And personally, it's fun to read, but every once in a while, you kind of like want to screw your brains out. So it leaves you with a lot of like mixed feelings and emotions. And I think, and I guess that's how good books are. And maybe that's why today hasn't been the best of days because I'm kind of like all over the place because of that book yesterday. Anyways, with the intensity of that book, I kind of like he shed light on multiple personal factors of mine. First things first, I'm completely alone. Uh, I'm a dude at a certain age, and I really don't care for women at all. But as of lately, I've been finding some women more attractive than normal. And that's basically loneliness kicking in because I'm no longer focusing directly on one thing. So when I was actually coding 4 months ago, I was like full blown, like not interested in looking at anyone or anything. But then when the website finished and I wasn't able to actually like, the website finished and launched, but I had made like, I blundered with a lot of things. So like, uh, I think the term for it is broken because the code is broken. There's another term probably for a website that's kind of like glitching or just like not necessarily doing its job. But anyways, I just had like my experience was well enough because I'm working on the website and I'm working on the actual business plan and I'm like I have to be generalized. I have to understand what the fuck is going on because like I'm building a business, but right now I'm the only one doing it, so I actually have to like be the guy doing the website. And I love code, don't get me wrong, but when you're focused on code, that's all you're focusing on. There's absolutely no way for you to pretend that you're doing it and doing something else unless you're that good. If you're that good, but for me, I was learning. So as I'm learning, I'm going through that on full focus. But yeah, so it's going back to the whole highlighted. What is it that I'm actually like focused on? The whole here. Sorry. So right now, over the past few weeks, I've been focused on just getting a whole lot of stuff done. Closed loops, remember? And so I closed a whole lot of open loops. Sorry, I closed a whole lot of open loops. And the last one is this course. And after this course is done, I have like my business analysis course that's coming. And it's just one thing after the other. And as of lately, I've been feeling a bit more kind of like worn out. And it makes sense because the house is not something I feel comfortable in. It's fucking with the system I have of myself, with the like rhetoric and with the engagement that I had with myself. So I decided to kind of write a note to myself. And the note is about the lessons, what I learned from the house uh, on what the place is called what this area. So here are the things I learned, and I really hope you like them. I learned not to trust a dirty house, especially one where the landlord didn't clean before showing it to me. So the house, when the guy first showed it to me, was filthy. And because I wanted to leave the apartment that I was in before because it was too expensive, I didn't have the money. Remember, like I was working with the e-commerce website, and then they were like, "You do what we want or whatever," and I'm like, "You know what? Fuck this shit." Yeah. I would have never made any other decision. I would have never made any other decision. Like fuck working under conditions like that, especially with people that don't want to do it. They don't want to make a decision towards the job. All they want to do is just kind of like all they want to do is just be bosses, man. And then like it's only been 2 months, and they were blaming me for stuff that basically it just wanted me to make the decisions and I me take the responsibility. And I refuse to do that because ultimately they're not letting me. It's not like they're micromanaging. I have to report everything I'm doing, which means a lot more work for no fucking reason, just because they're refusing to do their part. But anyways, so lesson number one: if a landlord shows you a dirty house, it says a lot. It says a lot. First things first, it says a lot about the house and whoever lived there before. Also says a lot about why they fucking left, probably. And also says a lot about the landlord. And then the second thing I learned not to trust people with hair plugs because the landlord has hair plugs. And look at my reasoning. They openly are trying to hide something. That's consciously trying to hide something, which which means Unconsciously, there's a lot of behavior that is hidden. And normally, these are the things you don't see when you first meet them, right? Like that's an instinctual thing that comes with you. You go like, "No, all right, so this guy's trying to hide something visibly, which means there's a lot of stuff he's probably hiding that I can't see, especially from the first interaction." Third thing I learned was I learned to read between the gaps of information when a question is unanswered. Because a lot of times you ask a question and it's not answered, but you actually skip. You go like, "It's okay, it's fine. I'll move on." But that shouldn't be cool at all. You ask the question, you deserve an answer. And if it's an answer you're not convinced in, then you have to question the person answering. It's no longer the question that's an issue. And I had a lot of these with the guy, especially on our first and second meets. But I said okay because I was going through, like, I needed to leave the house ASAP. I learned not to rush into something when I am being pressured, even when I'm pressuring by my own doing and my own self. Rushing into something, which is exactly what I did, like with the house. It was like, oh fuck, man, it's a good price. Let's fucking do it. Is it worth it? Is it worth me not finding stability in it? Is it worth me feeling kind of like waver? Is it worth me not wanting to spend time here and actually, like, instead of engaging with the mountain environment once a month like I did before, or once a week like I did before? Right now, I go there like 3 times a week, 4 times a week, man. Like, it's not that I like it there. I'm not saying I don't like it there. But I'm saying I normally am more productive towards a whole lot of things when I am in Beirut. The mountains, just like 6 hours produce one thing, whilst in Beirut, 6 hours produce about 8 or 10. But I don't have the space for it. So that's why I keep going there, because I don't feel myself as productive as I'm supposed to. Number five, I learned not to trust long voice notes and the people who send them, especially when they say only one thing and don't spend most of their time explaining their logic. I don't know if you guys like know, but in WhatsApp or Messenger, sometimes your friends would kind of like send you a voice note, and a voice note that has multiple points is very frustrating because, like, no, send them in small snippets. Come on, dude. I'm not going to be taking notes while listening to the voice note, because then you're pausing, you're writing down what's going on, or you're trying to remember. So the whole conversation goes to, like, they say a lot of stuff and only two, three things stick. It's not cool. But with this guy, the actual landlord, what happens is every time he's trying to like talk to me about something, it's over a minute and a half. And it's one thing just repeated in different ways. He doesn't explain at all what's going on. He doesn't explain at all. He doesn't explain anything. You could have just sent me a 10-second fucking voice note telling me, oh, this is this, how are you, how's it going, this, and this. Okay, if you want anything, let me know, or whatever. Do we agree, or what's your thought, or whatever. But he sends like a minute plus, which like is actually a decent sign of people that are not necessarily, they're not coherent enough to get the message done, or they're literally just trying to exhaust you into submission. And the last thing I learned was I learned that a house can only be a home if you have a good, well lit kitchen and a good, clean, well lit bathroom. That's profound shit, dude. Like, I get it. You guys are, I don't know. This is all kind of relatively new to me, observing this kind of stuff. Before, a house for me was just go and sleep there. And for a while, I had a decent house, but I never understood how decent it was until it got to a point where I was like, oh shit, this is not actually how I see it. Good realizations, I would say today. Peace out. Thank you.